Welcome back, everyone. Super excited today to welcome my friend Jacob Hiller. He is with Dental Implant Machine. He is their growth officer that helps practices, kind of like I do. It's really interesting to have someone like this on the show that knows all about full arch dentistry, implant dentistry, and helps them build and grow. He is a superstar in what he does, and he helps with internet marketing, funnels, sales process to systematically increase patients' revenue flow for doctors. So, Jacob, welcome to the show, man. So glad we could do this today.
Thanks for having me, Greg. So happy to be here, man.
All right, so I have to ask, like, I know my story. All of my listeners know my story. Like, how did you get into dental and dental implants? Because I mean, nobody really intends to. I don't think as like little boys that we decided, hey, I want to be in dental implants when I get old. I mean, maybe if your parents were like dentists, but so tell me your story. How did you end up getting in implants?
Yeah, thanks. I used to teach people how to jump higher for a living. I literally taught athletes how to jump, wrote books about how to jump higher, and I had a partner, and we created this evaluation, like do an evaluation on how you jump, and then we'll give you a prescription for how to jump higher. And so when my partner left the jumping space, which was really the space I'd been in for quite a long time, he started using this evaluation to attract patients, dental implant patients. And I didn't know what he was doing. And so he was using this evaluation as their lead funnel. And he contacted me and was like, hey, you would not believe what we're doing in this niche of dental implants. And for example, we were selling a $45 book on ads. And so we were able to squeeze scaling an ad campaign for a little bitty product. And so when he told me the numbers that people were doing in dental implants, I was extremely intrigued. And so I came out, I watched them do webinars and like literally watched them do, 40 implant patients on one webinar. And I was like, wow. And then I watched a smile reveal. And when I had the smile reveal, I was like, yo, this is actually amazing, life changing stuff. And so eventually I came over, got to work with, Kevin Vaughn, Spencer Walker, Chaden Young, and like what they were doing over here was awesome. And so I ended up coming over here, and it's just been a ride since then. And I love this space, man.
I love that you talk about the smile reveal. So for me, it was 10 years ago, and I was working with Neodent, and we had just started working with Clear Choice Dental Implant Centers. And I had my first experience with a patient reveal. Like they do it right, right? They do it big, right? And back then, this was 10 years ago, right? This is a decade ago. And it was a patient reveal, and the patient's reaction that something changed in me. Now it wasn't this like Baptist church in the South and it's 105 degrees and there's no air so you pass out type of experience, but it really did. It changed something. It moved that battleship in the ocean 1 degree, and suddenly that liner now is in a completely different space than it would have been even a couple of years down the line, let alone where it is a decade later. And I talk about this all the time when I work with, teach, coach, train, when I'm speaking at speaking engagements that I do quite frequently now. What is your why? To any clinicians or teams, is it money, which it's great if you're money motivated? Is it emotional, right? That patient reveal, to be able to deliver and give that to a patient, right? Or is it just because you're bored and you need something new to like occupy your mind? Any of those or all of those and then some. So I love that you mentioned that for sure. And so what is it that keeps you here? Because I don't know that you get in clinic that often, or do you? Do I have that wrong? Because I know I get to visit, I call them clinics, right? Dental practices all the time. So I get to steal one here and there. So it kind of lights my juices and gets to, throw some gasoline on the fire. So how about you? What keeps you in this space and keeps you going in this space?
So I think for me, sales is coaching. And so when you teach somebody or guide them to a better health decision, or you guide them to a better life, I don't think of it as sales. I think of it as coaching. And I love working with doctors to create a whole new lifestyle through dental implants. And I love helping the idea of, for me, a lot of patients just don't give themselves permission to live this better life, to have this treatment. And so I love the psychology that's involved in coaching the doctors and in coaching the patients to get over that hump, to choose themselves, to give themselves permission, and to see a big transformation. So that's what it's about for me. The challenge of that, the excitement of the success of it, just that whole part. I love figuring it out, and I love being a part of it.
Yeah, and what you bring up, when I think of, full arch patients, because that's my lane, right? The fixed full arch lane. There's really, in my mind, there's probably more, and I'm oversimplifying it, but I think of two different types of patients. I think of the one type of patient who's been through a significant amount of dental therapy, right? They've done a few bridges, they've done a bunch of root canals, they've done some crowns, so they've just been going through this piecemealing over and 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 over again, of trying to figure out a way to continue down their path of fixing whatever's going on in their mouth. And then eventually it gets to a point where it's like, look, we can, the clinician is like, look, we can continue down this path, or here's another permanent solution to guide you to this brand new smile, right? And that's what you're talking about, guiding to a brand new smile. Then there's the other set of patients who really have been in a situation where they haven't taken care of their mouth at all. Now, there's any number of reasons, right? They haven't been to a dentist in a long time. Maybe they've made some poor life choices because, they have the disease of addiction and they just haven't, right? Meth mouth or whatever the case may be that some may be familiar with. I'm in recovery. I see it often, with those that I work with in recovery, or for whatever reason. And in that patient population, I think that's what you're talking about a little bit, where they just don't feel worthy of, giving themselves that brand new smile because for so long or for whatever reason, there's that shame associated with it. They just don't smile anymore, if you will. So would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that because of the price too, it's not just a choice of do I want this. Now there's a sacrifice involved. Just like addiction, for example, you got to sacrifice that and do something bigger, different with your life. And because there's a huge price tag, there's a mental game where now, am I worth that sacrifice? And getting them to confront that sacrifice, and they're really weighing whether they're worth that financial sacrifice or not. If it was their child and it was a brain surgery, the answer would be yes, right? Because they value their child, they know how important it is. But now they're staring their future down the pipe, and they're having to decide, am I worth it? Is it worth the sacrifice? Is it worth the sacrifice for my family? And so it creates this dynamic and this need to choose themselves and give themselves permission. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Well, it does, and it's really just reflecting a little bit and seeing if I was picking up what you were setting down and seeing if I was hearing you. And one of the things too, you mentioned finances, and we understand the landscape, right? It's pretty obvious out there. Interest rates were in one place 16, 18 months ago, and they're in a much different place now, right? People's credit usage is in a much different place now, right? Credit scores are a much different place than they are now. The restrictions on third party financing are much different than they were back then as they are now. When you look at all these different pieces, of course, there's those restrictions which can hamper. But you touched on something there that I really hadn't brought to the forefront in my own mind, even though I live in this space. And that is the decisions that individuals make if they are providing for a family or if they're part of a family unit. And that's, do I make the choice for myself compared to providing for family in a different way, right? I would rather see my kids get X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank, than give myself that brand new smile, or there'll be time when dot, 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 fill in the blank, right? I'd rather save for their college than, have what really equates to a car payment for the next 8 to 10 years in order to give myself that brand new smile or whatever, and fill in the blank. And I think that's really part of that mindset that going through and helping founders, treatment coordinators, those that are every touch point in the patient journey, to help guide the patients into that sense of worth and into guiding to a yes. So tell me a little bit about what those conversations are like and how you help those clinicians you work with in order to have more success, not only for a dental implant machine, right? Because obviously it's got to be a win-win-win, right? A win for your company that you are in charge of growth for, a win for the clinicians and their practices, because in order to implement it responsibly with the ROI, increase in profitability and cash flow, which is all what I'm about, right? And I'm sure you are as well, but also a win for those patients and how to help them to see the value and how they can provide better. And sometimes they have to be maybe a little selfish. So talk to my listening audience a little bit about that, because I think that can be helpful in how you approach that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. So I think that when we approach a patient, we're often thinking, teach them about implants. And then we're often thinking, teach them that I can do these implants as good or better than anybody else. Those are the two things. And if we solve that, then they'll move forward with treatment. Um, but I tend to think, and this is what I call it, is I call it having the secret conversation. For example, if I'm talking with a doctor who's thinking about using our services, he wants more patients. But the secret conversation is that they want to be the hero for their office, that they want to finally go on a vacation, right? That's what they're really buying when they have a growth program, when they work with you. They're buying a new lifestyle. That's the secret conversation about what's really going on. And so I feel like with patients, if we can start with having the secret conversation about why have you been wanting this and why haven't you done it? And for some people, it could be, I want to kiss my wife again. I want to look in the mirror and be happy with the person I am. I don't want to feel like people look at me and only see my teeth. I don't want that stigma. And so getting to that secret conversation, now you're actually talking about the decision that they really are making, which is, do I want this life? Not do I want dental implants, not are you the right provider, but do I want this life or that life? And I think when you start having that secret conversation, instead of talking about all the technical aspects, now you're in the same room with the patient. Instead of being on a loudspeaker in another room, you're in the same room with them, and you're sitting with them, helping them evaluate, is this what you want out of life, or is that what you want out of life? Rather than having them infer that or deduce that from what you can do, but actually having that conversation. And so I think that's the foundation of it.
Yeah, it's so spot on, right? And I call that, it's not so much, I call that it's the motivation, right? It's the why behind the what. That's the phrase that I use, the why behind the what, because in Full Arch, it's not so much about the product itself, right? It's about the process. It's about the motivation that they have of why now, especially in that second group of patients that have had this, maybe they have some oral systemic health, and you could maybe layer that in and say, oh, well, it's going to help you to be able to get, eat and chew better for morning, noon, and night the rest of your life. And maybe that's part of it. Sure. Your overall health will improve. But then you run into objections like, well, I'm 75 years old. How much more life do I have left in me? Right. So you're going to run into some of those pieces. But if you can ask, right, ask with intent and really learn, like, what is your motivation? Why now? Why are you going to do something now as compared to 3 months ago or 6 months ago or 12 months ago? What brings you in today? What is that motivating factor? Maybe it was the fact that over the holidays, their sister, for the 10th time or the umpteenth time, made fun of them or made a snide comment. Or maybe it was a look by one of their grandkids coming and sitting on their lap and chose not to because they looked at their mouth rather than their face, or whatever that is, right? So what is that motivating factor? And you can't really ask straight out, like, well, why now? Why are you coming in now? You got a jacked up mouth. You can't ask that. Well, I guess you could. Somebody could, but that's kind of rude, and you're not really going to get the answer you're looking for. So I appreciate you sharing that, because there's so much gravity to that, especially in the big cases, especially when you're dealing human to human and trying to uncover and discover what they're really trying to get to. And you call it the secret conversation. I love that. And that's going to go in the show notes for sure, because that people are going to want to hear that. So I'm curious, if we're talking about that motivation, that really what is all about, what's the essence of life, right? What do you value? I'm curious, and I'm going to turn it on you. And I didn't let anybody know that, including you. So what is that for you, right? Because there's the success in business. I know you're very successful in business. So what is that for you? What brings you that joy in life, that you want to share and you want to talk about? So, vulnerability is a big thing on the Two Sleuth podcast, if you listen to any episode. So I'm curious, for you, what is that for you?
Man, that's a really good question, man. And for me, I just want to be right with God, and I want to be right with those around me, and so I try to put myself in a position to live at a pace of life where I know what I'm doing is a positive impact for those around me, and I'm not trying at this point in my life. I'm not trying to accrue success or money or fame. I just want to live a slow, happy life where I feel good about my interactions and about myself.
I like that. Yeah, I have a mantra that I've been using, and I don't know where I picked it up, and it's fairly recent, but for me, it's more in 24. And it doesn't mean more wealth. It doesn't mean more fame. It just means to give a little more to others, give a little bit more of my time, make myself more available to people in the industry, listen a little bit more. And certainly like all the rest too, right? But it's not about me and grabbing more, but it's about being more available and giving more. And so I love that you're willing to share that. And I think that that's super important. And in this industry, one thing that I find in the dental industry, and I don't know, and so I'll ask you, how many years have you been in the dental industry? 2 years. Okay. And so you may have already experienced this. But I've been in the dental industry for 17 years. And what I've learned and what I know to be true is that for the most part, it is probably the biggest small industry that I've ever experienced, at least from all those that I talk to. And there are more, there are more individuals that I've come across that are willing to give of themselves and simply reaching out and saying, "Hey, I have a question. I'm trying to learn this. I'm interested in this." The vast majority are willing to say yes and give up their time and share of, and that's just not experience of what I hear from others. And you can be tremendously successful in business being a giving person and not so much being combative and of course there's competition, right? Because there's always going to be, if you're in sales, right? You're in sales, I'm in sales, basically, right? All of my clients, all the full arch clients, it's super competitive out there. It's a $1.5 billion industry, and they're all competing in marketing for those patients and clients. But the patient pool is massive. If we can just figure out how to help more patients to have treatment done, right? Because such a small percentage are being serviced right now. Uh, there's many more to be serviced, and so I so appreciate the industry that we're in. And have you found that to be true for those that you've reached out to and spent time with and engaged with in the dental industry?
The connection that I made, I wasn't sure what to think. I first got here, I didn't like dentists because I have sensitive teeth. You know
I'm
what I
not
mean?
editing that out. Just so you know, I'm not editing that out. I'm going to tell my producer, leave that in. Jacob at first did not like dentists. Nobody likes going to the dentist, Jacob. That's
Yeah,
a given. Sorry, go ahead. I
I
didn't mean
did
to cut
have.
you off.
Then that's all
That was
right.
not a
I did
setup.
the month before I started doing this. I did have like the waking sedation. What do they call it? I did get that sedation, and I had my first great dentist trips. Yeah, and it was great. But then when I went to conferences, um, I saw that not that I didn't know that already, but these are people who are just like me, that they just want to make an impact. That's why they're drawn to particularly implants, because it's a different interaction than a cavity or a crown. And so the friendships that I've made and the people that I've interacted with has been inspiring for me, but especially the people that I work with over at Dental Implant Machine, Spencer Walker, Kevin, Shaden, those guys, they just share that they just love the fun and the game of it, but also connecting with people like yourself, man. So,
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff for sure. All right, Jacob. It's the part of the program everybody plays. It's called What the Sleuth is Going On? It's three
oh
rapid
shoot,
fire questions. The first thing, he's shaving. He's shaving. That's your microphone. Everybody knows that's your microphone, dude. All right, this is going to be fun. So it's three rapid fire questions. The first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready to play?
probably not, but let's go.
I like your attitude, right? That's very dental reflective. Well done. All right, question number 1. What's the worst bad breath you've ever encountered?
It's probably been my own. You know what I mean? But it's I don't get to get in the chair and experience all those bad breath. But I'm a fan of pickling things and fermenting things, and so my son's birthday party was pickle juice and cake and sushi, and afterwards none of us were doing very well.
I hope there's a lot of flossing and brushing of teeth before they're the goodnight kisses. Or if not, the morning after. Whew,
yeah, that's
rough.
what'll get you.
All right, that's a good one.
Okay.
But wait, pickle juice, birthday cake, and sushi, were those the 3?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Those
all
are going to be
combined
funny
into one.
emojis.
Yeah.
They're going to be funny emojis when I post those on socials, and I know you're big on socials. All right, I like it. Question number 2. If you could change one thing about your smile, what would it be?
I think I just want a little bit. If I could really change it, I'm doing Invisalign, but I just think I want a little bit bigger teeth. It'd be kind of cool, just like a little bit bigger. Yeah.
All right. So crown lengthening. Anybody out there? Any dentists out there that do crown lengthening? He wants bigger teeth. So I know that only creates like more vertical. So I don't know about the width, but that's not my realm. So anyway, yeah, I might know a dentist or two. I don't know if you do. Do you know any dentists?
I know a couple, but we'll see. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good enough. All right. Question number 3. If you could go back and be the inventor of any dental product, which one would you choose and why?
The inventor, anyone that currently exists. Okay. I'm going to have to say dental implants. Clearly, I think that's where it's at in dentistry. I think that's what is the funnest treatment to provide. I just love the whole world of implants, and so would like to be the inventor of implants. Yep. All on 4, particularly. Yeah.
I've got a grin on my face because I could just see Spencer and Kevin's face like about ready to kick you. You know what? If you didn't,
it's true though.
Be like they're like anticipating. They're listening, anticipating. Say implants. Say implants. Oh, he missed it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Thanks for playing, Jacob. Well done. All right. Well, I want to respect your time and my listeners' time because some of them are running on a treadmill. Or, I mean, who knows? Maybe they're surfing. Maybe they're jumping out of a plane. I don't think most of them are watching on YouTube. Although if you are, hello, everyone on YouTube. Subscribe, click, all that good stuff. So in the last few minutes that we have, Jacob, is there anything that you haven't shared with my listening audience about yourself, about what you do, that you'd like to share with the listening audience? Free reign.
I don't think I would say if I could give anybody advice, one thing that they could take away from here and just say, hey, that's what I got from it. It's to have the secret conversation. Let's just stick with that. Is like connect with their why. It makes it funner for your salespeople. It makes it a better process for everyone. And it actually gets them closer to making the right decision for themselves. So if you walk away with everything, just find out what their why is. And I think that can uptick your experience and uptick your revenue. That'd be my takeaway for today.
Love it. And Jacob, how do they get a hold of you if they want to have a conversation a little bit further about what you can do to help them grow their revenue?
Yeah, just you can email me, jacob@dentalimplantmachine.com, jacob@dentalimplantmachine.com, or you can text me 913-850-0911.
Perfect. And we'll make sure all that gets in the show notes as well. Jacob Hiller, Head of Growth, Dental Implant Machine. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Tooth Sleuth podcast. Really appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you, Greg.